Police accountability advocates say Victorian police data suggests people of African and Middle Eastern appearance were profiled by officers and fined 4 times more than the general population for breaking COVID rules. The police records obtained by Community Legal Centre through a Freedom of Information request show significant differences between ethnic groups, as police officers recorded the racial appearance of the offender in 3/4 of cases. Of the fines with race recorded, about 20% went to people of either African or Middle Eastern appearance. Only about 5% of Victorians have African or Middle Eastern ancestry, according to the 2021 census. People of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander appearance received 2.5% of the fines, but First Nations make up just 1% of the state's population. Of the fines issued for not wearing a mask, 12.5% went to people of African or Middle Eastern appearance, but a broader category of offences, which typically required police questioning, saw that group fined more often. Victoria Police has not responded to detailed questions about the data from the ABC, but in a statement it says it rejects any suggestion its officers targeted any racial groups. Elo Diaz is an advocate on race discrimination at the Inner Melbourne Community Legal, which commissioned the report, and he joins me now. Elo Diaz, thank you for your time. So your organisation commissioned this report. Did you suspect that you would find an overrepresentation of people of African and Middle Eastern appearance?
Thanks for having me. Look, unfortunately, it's not surprising for many communities, racialised communities, to get these findings. These kind of tactics that police use to target certain communities more than others, it's been happening for many years. And so this report has put numbers to what we've already been hearing across our communities. And so it's not surprising at all. I think COVID is just another way that it's manifested.
The police deny racial profiling took place here. Could it not be that there were simply more people of African or Middle Eastern appearance breaking COVID rules?
Look, this report says nothing about how many people broke the actual rules. We know from the Premier down, people were breaking the rules wittingly or unwittingly. This report doesn't speak about the offending. It speaks about police behaviours and where police were putting their resources to fine and give out fines to those communities. So yeah, I would say it speaks nothing to the actual offending. It speaks more to police behaviours.
So you think that the areas where people of African and Middle Eastern appearance live were overly policed during this time that your report looks at?
Yeah, that's correct. So we know, my work is speaking to many racialised communities, many racialised peoples, and we know that they are again and again over-policed and targeted by police. And these police behaviours and police processes to look at one community and not others happens across the board. And so, yeah, so we know that this is another reason, another example of that. And what we need is to, one, waive these fines, and secondly, we need to make sure that there's an accountability process, that this doesn't happen again. We need independent investigations into police. We need a police ombudsman.
How difficult has this been for some of your clients?
Very, very difficult. We know that with a growing cost of living crisis happening, people can't even pay bills, they can barely get food on the table. We know that rents are increasing, and so having to pay these fines that in some of these instances were come about in unjust ways is just another burden on their life. And so our service sees many clients coming in with many fines, and we're asking for all of those to be waived.
So this is more than 3 years on from when these fines were issued. How many of them remain outstanding?
Look, I believe there's quite a number of them have been outstanding. I think it's on the government to have those numbers. But what we do know is that this report is showing that when those fines were issued, they were disproportionately issued. And so that's another call for waiving of these fines and asking for a better accountability from our police.
Okay, so you want these fines waived. You've mentioned that several times. So what are the next steps in making that happen?
Well, we just need a commitment from the government to make that happen. I think the fines, waiving the fines is in some ways the easier ask. What I hear when I do my work out in the community is a much bigger systemic ask, which is to get accountability into the policing system. The fines is a symptom of something bigger, right? It's a symptom of police over-policing certain communities. So I hear communities asking for that to stop. And for that to really stop, we need better monitoring, we need better oversight, we need better accountability systems, we need a police ombudsman for that.
Will you look at the New South Wales example at all, where there was a local community legal centre that challenged in the courts thousands of fines that were issued during COVID lockdowns, and the New South Wales government withdrew something like 33,000 of them? Will you look to do the same thing and challenge the legality of those fines?
Look, it's not off the table. I think we'll be looking at all our avenues and our options on the table to see how we can challenge these fines and how we can try to address these issues that this report has found.
And when you speak to some of your clients, what do they tell you around sometimes the fear that they might experience in their interactions with police?
Look, we hear many different stories, and I often think about that young person who has told me that they've been stopped by police 20 times in the last 6 months just from going to school, coming back, going to school, coming back, or the people who go downstairs and there's police cars driving around their neighbourhoods, and they know that they're the ones being targeted. This psychological impact is big. That was part of the study as well, showing that people who were stopped for no reason, so when it wasn't part of a systemic stop and question, but when they were stopped randomly, the psychological harm is so much more.